Day 11 of the climate summit in Glasgow. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson urged world leaders today to be more ambitious in tackling climate change.
We have to bridge the gap between where we are and where we need to be if we're going to cut emissions in half by 2030. And we need to pull out all the stops if we're going to do what we came here to do.
Prime Minister Johnson admits the conference won't solve climate change on its own, but he says he's optimistic the world can keep the rise in global temperatures below 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the decade. That's the goal set at the Paris Agreement 6 years ago. Meanwhile, the host nation of the climate summit facing harsh realities of climate change. Scotland has had record rainfall over the past few decades. That's damaging some of the country's biggest tourist attractions. CNBC's Diana Olick now with an international edition of her series of reports on rising risks.
For 1,000 years, Edinburgh Castle has stood watch over dozens of wars and social revolutions. It is a testament to time itself, but time may be running out.
When we have really extreme rainfall events that we haven't seen in our time, our lifetime, or recorded history, then we're not actually even sure what might happen to some of these buildings.
Just this past July, a freak storm dumped more than a month's worth of rain on Scotland in barely a day, doing serious damage to Edinburgh Castle.
That had quite significant effects in terms of damage to floor surfaces and in the interiors. So we've been working really hard to remedy that. But we also need to start thinking about how we react in future to an event like that, given that those events are becoming more frequent.
Scotland's 10 warmest years have all been in the last 3 decades, at least since they began tracking this in 1884. Warmer temperatures cause heavier rains, and the intensity of daily extreme rainfall events over Edinburgh are expected to increase. This could cause 3 to 4 times the annual normal damage to the area's historic castles. Blackness Castle stands on the edge of the sea, on the front lines of coastal erosion. Like with Edinburgh Castle, the Historic Society is fixing outer walls to protect it, because while castles are part of Scotland's identity, they are also invaluable to its economy.
Over a third of the tourists who come to Scotland say they've come specifically to see heritage sites, and obviously that generates millions, indeed billions of pounds for Scotland's economy.
The Scots do love their castles and want to do anything they can to protect them from climate change. But for some of the castles, at least, there is an argument to be made that protecting these great relics of the past might not be the best thing for Scotland's future. Because restoration is costly, and some argue the money could be put to better use in making the city itself both greener and more resilient to climate change.
Culture is dynamic. It's part of who we are, it's part of our community. We change as a society, and sometimes we lose things. But it's also about understanding that it's okay to lose things.
For the news, I'm Diana Olick in Edinburgh, Scotland.